you listen to a song on high volume, you're gonna think it's much better than on low volume. What I'm meaning with that is always use gain compensation on equalizers, saturators and compressors. It's not a fair comparison if the other one is louder. Then the louder one is always going to have the upper hand. A trick I usually use when doing this is closing my eyes and then press the bypass button fast a couple of times until I don't know which one is the bypassed version, and then just listen really closely to decide which one is the best sounding. I know when starting out you often like to boost more than cut on the EQ, but what I really recommend to try is cutting more. Instead of boosting frequencies that you want to stand out, try cutting frequencies that aren't needed. When you have issues with something taking up a certain space, for example, let's take these chords. Let's say we think it has too much low end. You can either cut out the low end, or you can chord invert the bottom notes, or you can put up the whole progression up an octave depending on what you need. This way you don't have to cut out as much low end out of the instrument, and also the instrument maintains a better sound. Other mixdowns are the best source to how to make a professional mix, because it's already there in your ears. If you can learn how to reference mix properly, your mixes will improve significantly. Also, when you reference mix, make sure the track you have chosen has a high quality MP3 or WAV, format. You don't want to reference a track in 128 kbps, like SoundCloud for example, because it won't give you a fair comparison. Practice. 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 If you struggle with referencing when mixing, this tip is probably gonna change the way you approach it for the better. If you haven't done this before, it might be a little bit silly, but bear with me because it really works. When you think of a mix, there's 3 known terms it goes by. First thing is how tall something is, in frequency range from low to high. Now try to place my voice in a 3D picture with only the sound. For example, listen to my voice as it goes higher and lower in your mind when I cut and boost with the EQ. This is how you should imagine each instrument in your whole mix. Second thing is how wide something is, or how much it's panned to the left or right with different stereo effects. And the third thing is how deep something is, like the depth and the space of all the elements. Timer-based effects like reverb and delay affect this. So these are the 3 ways to make your mix clean and give each sound its own space. So keep them in mind when something's clashing. The reason why this is such a good method to reference with is simply because if you can put every reference mix in a 3D image in your head, you can easily just follow and do the same with your own mix.
Trying to figure out this life. Won't you take me by the hand? Whatever feels good in my soul. I'm the average girl from your video, and I ain't built like a supermodel, but I learned to love myself unconditionally. Beautiful in every single way. Yes, words can bring us down.
Balance is very important to get right. Without the right balance, your mix will probably sound like trash. This is the very first thing you should do when mixing. And with balance, I just mean having a good balance on the volume on each individual track. Also, don't forget that you also might need to use volume automations, just to make sure everything sits nice and tight in volume through the whole song. Don't forget to reference listen on several monitors, headphones, or even your car or laptop, because they all sound different. For example, the sub bass might be hard to hear on a laptop, so the way you fix it is by saturating the sub bass to give it harmonies that the laptop can pick up. Remember, your goal isn't to make the mixes sound perfect everywhere, because that's not even possible. Your goal is to make the mixes sound good on the widest variety of speakers possible. choosing the right samples is almost as important as the mixing itself. Because if you have great samples and synths in the right spaces, you won't have to mix that much at all because it will already sound really good. As everyone says, you can't polish a turd. I mean, you can, but it would still be a turd. So get some Rolex samples and presets and you should be good. Drink a lot of fucking coffee. Nice.
Bam bam, mon ça se place, j'ai sur mon lit à bouffer sa langue en buvant grand mon whisky. Quant à moi, peu dormi, vie débris, mais j'ai